what you say.
No.
There it is.
Let's hear it.
Well, let's hear it.
Talk to us. Uh-oh.
Beadle and Decker, taking on sports talk like no one else. Michelle Beadle,
I'm just helping. I'm helping America one by one.
Cody Decker.
I 100% believe in revenge. Revenge is a great thing.
Back to the sports.
Back and ready for more.
Every time I tune them out, they pull me back in.
It's Beadle and Decker. Here's Michelle and Cody.
Hello, everybody. It is Friday, and welcome. It is time for Beadle and Decker, and welcome. Listen, it's noon here in Southern California. It's a beautiful, beautiful, hot day in Southern California, and I had myself a night last night. I'm looking very forward to talking to you guys about it, and specifically the guy that is joining me today, who has joined me for the last couple of weeks, who has absolutely kicked ass every single time he's joined me. Who better to join me yet again than Tyrone Johnson? What is up, Tyrone? How you doing, my guy?
What's going on, man? Happy to be back with you. Happy Friday to everybody out there. So excited about it. Out here on the East Coast, we actually got above 40 degrees. And if you've been on the East Coast, that's a big deal. The snow that we got is actually melting because we got another foot earlier this week, unexpectedly. Man, I'm happy to be with you today.
I'm thrilled to have you, man. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California. We got a lot to cover. But before we get into the things we need to cover, because Major League Baseball owners showing their ass again, NFL with a new little salary cap thing coming forward. We got a lot to talk about on salary caps on today's show. President Trump is trying very hard to put together a committee to fix college sports. We'll get into whatever the hell that shit show is. And, of course, plenty other things along the way. But first, I got to talk about this, man. I'm not 40 yet, but I'm getting close. I'm 39 years old. I'm in my last few months of this decade. And, Tyrone, I went out last night. Now I have a girlfriend right now, and it's her birthday week, and you know how it goes with women in their birthday months and weeks and all that. And I'm just trying to be a nice guy. I didn't really eat dinner last night. I go down to Hermosa Beach. We go out to a restaurant. I'm expecting to have myself a meal at the restaurant, and we decided just to have drinks, which is great. I love drinks as much as the next guy. I'm sitting there drinking white wine like it's going out of style. But as time goes forward, I kind of expressed to her, dude, I'm hungry. What do you say we get some food? She's like, okay, order food. I ordered food for the house. I start walking to the house, but no. A band is playing over here at the right of this place called the Lighthouse, so we have to go in there. 3 hours later on a weeknight, it's 11 p.m. Your boy just ain't for them streets no more, man. I can't be out this late. I feel like, and by the way, not hungover, no problem. I feel like I was hit by a truck just because I was on my feet past the hour of 9 p.m. What happened to me, dude? I was a juggernaut. This body didn't quit back in the day.
Well, those days are over. Listen, it's tough out in these streets. It's tough in these streets. I can't do it anymore either. I'm older than you, so I know what it's like. I remember not having hangovers. Now I could possibly have a 2-day hangover. I remember being able to go out, close the bar, pop right back up and make it to work like nothing happened. Then it became like maybe midnight. Now, 11 o'clock on a Thursday? Oh, forget about it.
Dude,
no way in hell. No way in hell.
In fairness, I think you would have appreciated it. I was walking by, and this band had a logo that was like the Space Needle. So I'm like, okay, so it's like a 90s grunge cover band. And I gotta say, dude, pretty good. Pretty damn good. A little bit of Alice. They did a full spectrum, dude. They went from the early 90s, like early 90s, hard early 90s, a little Alice in Chains, Man in the Box type of stuff. Then they were getting into some of that soft, like early 90s, like college rock music, like Spin Doctors type music. So we're in that. Then they're finishing up going with like Hoobastank. They're really covering the decade in a very unique way. I was when they started singing The Reason, I'm like, no fucking way.
Wow.
Hoobastank thrown in this bitch?
No, that's not bad. It probably would have been better 6 p.m. versus 10:30, but I get you. I'm like, hey, you played this a little earlier. I'm with you. Hoobastank,
by the way,
reason is you. Yeah.
Everybody in the chat agrees. I remember drinking all night, then running 4 to 5 miles the next morning for PT in the Army. Dude, 4 to 5 miles after drinking all night. Oh, by the way, this guy's saying, Chad's saying, wait till it happens. Wait till I turn 50. I'm not going to make it to 50, guys. We don't.
No,
need
I'm
that
not
shit.
looking forward to 50 either. But I can tell you though, your 40s, it doesn't necessarily get worse because you start to recognize your limitations.
Yeah, I feel like I'm already in the 40s. I'm at that point right now, but I'll take it. It's
Can
fine.
I ask you one thing real fast?
Yeah.
The girlfriend, you don't have to tell me exactly because sometimes women are about their age. Roughly, how old is she?
She is 40. She is the same age as
Okay.
me. Yeah, no,
Okay.
dude. I'm not the guy. So this is funny.
No.
It's funny you asked that question. I ain't the guy that's dating younger. I'm never gonna be that cat. I date age appropriate or older. Daddy likes the older, the outfield. I like my girls a little bit older. That's just fact.
I also my wife honestly is like 9 months older than me. Now that you mentioned it, but what I just want to make sure that she would be on the same page with you because had you said 28, for example, because again I don't know, you would have another decade of this.
Dude, I'm glad you said that because, dude, when I got divorced, I will admit one of the first people I dated, I'm freshly divorced. I'm 36 years old, 35, 36 years old. My first date was with a 23-year-old girl. And she was very nice. It was a great date. We went out, I think, like 2 times. No. Cannot do this. Will not do this. It was noticeable. I don't know how anybody claims that they find their soulmate that's 10 years younger, 20 years younger. When you're like 60, you're dating a 25. No. Bullshit. No.
Right. You're liars. All of you, you're liars when you do that. And listen, go ahead and lie to yourself if that's what makes you happy. Leonardo DiCaprio, you're lying to yourself. You guys have nothing to talk about. You have nothing in common. You're dating her because she's hot. Just cut it out. Okay. If you just admit that, I'm with you. And I understand you don't want to admit it to her, but don't come lying to me. Don't come to me and say you guys connect on every level. You guys aren't even the same species. Cut it out. Cut it out.
Dude, you come over here dropping that shit like, oh yeah, she's an old soul. No, she's not. Stop it. You're just the same young dumb idiot who just wants to date a young chick. That's just what it is.
Right. She's talking about old school and she's talking about J. Cole. Like, cut it out. Like old school hip hop. Like Kendrick. Like, what are you talking about? You have to say,
oh man, I'm really into the old stuff like Eminem.
Right, that's old to you. Oh yeah. Okay, I got you.
That's great. That's great. That's awesome. Listen, Major League Baseball is back. We got spring training in full swing right now. It's been fun to see the guys back out there. It's cool to see a lot of these teams kind of getting ready for the WBC as well, which is definitely something I got my eyes on. But so far, spring training, I know we don't want to get too high or too low with what because everybody's making a big deal with the Dodgers. Man, 6-0 in spring training. It's spring training. Nobody cares. They're all throwing fastballs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. There's actually one thing I didn't tell you about this that is concerning me. Major League Baseball has done all this study about how one of the things that is just factual is throwing as hard as you can nonstop is bad for the pitchers, period. And one of the things that my team has done that has had actually a pretty good durability as a Phillies fan is because they teach guys to pitch and not just to throw because they take that seriously. They think being able to make your 30 starts more important than 15 good ones and then a Tommy John surgery. What is disturbing me is I'm looking at it. We're in the first week, literally last Friday we were on. Those were the first games. So we're 1 week into spring training. I am shocked how many pitchers are actively in the first week of spring training throwing 100. I don't think it's good overall for the sport because that's the only thing Major League Baseball has admitted is throwing that hard all the time. Now, I'm not saying the guy should be throwing 89, but you can't tell me in the first week of spring training there's that much of a difference between that 100 that you're throwing and 95.
So I'll tell you this, like the way the game's actually changed and evolved to being about speed, velocity, and you're not wrong about that. And it's also, if you look at the age of pitchers in Major League Baseball, it's actually gotten younger by like a full year and a half in just the last couple of years.
You have
no choice because there's only so many bullets you got in that arm so you can't waste that bullet down in AA or AAA. So they're calling those guys up faster and letting them break down faster. It's an ugly, ugly part of this game. But as much as they are admitting it, they also aren't really doing much to mitigate it or fix it. Because listen, I'm not saying that the pitch clock is causing all these injuries, but the pitch clock does play into it. It's a percentage. I'm not saying it's 70%
Yeah,
of the reason. It's
Yeah.
probably closer to like 10, 15% of the reason. But Tommy Johns have clicked up a little bit. And I'm going to use this example to you. That 20-second recovery from going max effort to another max effort over and over and over again. Think about it like if you're lifting weights. If I'm going max effort on each lift and I'm only giving myself 20 seconds in between lifts, my body is just going to be fatigued. It makes it much easier to put more pressure on that UCL, and what makes it much easier. And by the way, in case you don't know how Tommy Johns really happen, it's based on finger pressure that they put on the baseball. So the harder you press on the baseball, the more of the connective chain directly into your UCL. So a guy gets fatigued after going max effort. Well, now he's probably going to accidentally put like a couple millimeters more of pressure on that ball with their index finger. Just that little bit is enough to snap that UCL. It's an ugly aspect of the game right now. But I'll also tell you this. As much as I want to blame Major League Baseball for it, I don't know what the fix is. It feels like the toothpaste is already out of the bottle.
No, I think honestly the fix is going to be certain teams that value the durability portion of it. And that, like my Phillies, for example, and like Wheeler went down because of basically a blood clot. It wasn't because his arms. They have, for the most part, been durable. Painter's injury happened down in the minors, just 19 years old, and it happened to pop. And he might be in the majors this year, Philly's top pitching prospect, for example. So I think what it's going to come down to is each organization is going to value what they value. And I think I'm just glad I'm a fan of one who values pitching more. And that doesn't mean that they don't have guys that can crank it up to 100, but 100 to default in February and March, not what I need. I'm all for it if I need it in September and October.
Yeah. And also, listen, as much as I love the WBC and I love everything about this, it's in the back of my mind understanding why teams don't want their players to go. It's on the back of my mind understanding why some players can't get insurance to pitch more than one game. As much as I'm going to talk about how Major League Baseball don't need a salary cap, I also understand protecting one's investment in a player as well. So there is a give and take here. But let's go ahead and get into that salary cap, dude, because it's very interesting. As we know, this is going to get ugly. But I don't think I realized how ugly. I think I've always known it was going to be ugly. But if these are the numbers that Major League Baseball's just throwing out there arbitrarily to be the new salary cap and floor, I don't know what to tell you other than we're never going to see Major League Baseball again after 2026 because there's no universe that the Players Association agree to these numbers at all. And I don't even think they're even a starting point. So if you believe what the reports are currently, and it's from John Heyman, so usually John Heyman gets his information from Major League Baseball themselves. I love me some John Heyman. Early estimates suggest that the proposed salary cap might be set around $260 million to $280 million. Okay. And that the floor is set around 140 to 160. That right there proves to me this has nothing to do with parity. And even more so, it proves to me that the owners are not remotely serious right now. Because explain to me how you're going to have a salary cap and floor that is nearly double of each other. Just explain how that actually fixes a goddamn thing.
It does nothing. Now, I don't expect everybody in the chat and everybody watching to know all cap mechanics, but in the NBA and in the NFL, the floor is 90% of the max. So in that scenario, if it was 260 to 280, you could do the math real quick. It'd be 90% with that would be the floor, which would mean everybody in that scenario spending north of $200 million. And now what'll happen is the Dodgers, because they spend more, would have to shed a Freeman. They would have to shed a Mookie Betts, for example. And inevitably, because the floor is so high, a team like Pittsburgh, a team like Miami, a team like Kansas City would then be able to bring them in and have that player in their cap because they'd be starting so low, and that would help competitive balance. No Freddie Freeman or no Mookie Betts on the Dodgers absolutely helps everybody else. But when it's half like that, they cut. Then the only teams that pick guys like that up are the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Phillies. And then the teams that don't spend now would continue to not spend, and it wouldn't change a damn thing. The whole point of the cap is forcing you to part with your good players and other teams that pay those good players. That's how it works. Milton Williams is on the Eagles, for example. This is just a local example. They couldn't afford him. He's a defensive tackle. After the Eagles win the Super Bowl, he then signs with the Patriots. He was the highest paid free agent. He goes back to the Super Bowl with the Patriots. So the Eagles had to shed a really good player, but the Patriots paid that good player. With that disparity, the player doesn't get paid. It doesn't work. It doesn't make competitive balance.
And I'm glad you mentioned already, because like the Marlins currently at $78 million as their salary. I want to say that again. The Miami Marlins salary this season is $78.1 million, which is amazing. I've been actually saying a lot of things about the Cleveland Guardians. To the Guardians' credit, they're spending $20 million this year more than the Marlins. So I'll give you at least a little bit of semblance of credit on that. But this is insane, because there are currently 11 teams right now in Major League Baseball that are below this proposed floor as we currently stand. Right. So you're also telling me that they can afford to spend double of what they're spending. Dude, make it make sense. Can anybody read the fucking room with these billionaires and understand they very much can afford this? This is insane.
Right, and they absolutely can afford it. And then here's the other part then. If you're not going to put in a proper floor, right, how does it help the young player? Because one of these things that could help a cap, it helps, for example, NFL, the reason they value draft picks is it's cost control. You know when you draft them. Same with the NBA. You know when you draft them, they're going to cost a certain amount. Well, when Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman in the scenario I gave have to part from their team, many times they might replace them with low-cost prospects, and they would be forced to do so. But if the floor is so low, and they're not spending to a certain amount, the prospect then isn't rewarded. What it does is it decreases the market for everybody overall, and it doesn't create the path to the major leagues for the prospects. Because what will happen is in the future, a Bryce Harper contract that's $300 million is depressed down to $200 million, but then nobody else then benefits from it. By having a higher floor, now the young player has to come up, because I've invested in my pitching staff. I got to go a little cheaper in my outfield. I invested in my outfield. I got to go a little bit cheaper in my infield, creating opportunities for young guys to come up and then eventually make their money. But when you make the floor and that far apart, all it does is depress salaries without creating the pathway for the young guys. And if you're a guy in AA right now, thinking about this, the floor will literally could decide your future. And when you come up, how quickly you get paid. The floor is what's going to decide how well the young guys do. And that part, I think, is very important if you're going to balance this and if you want the Players Association to accept it. You got to create a path for guys to make a lot of money, but also a path for younger guys to come up. And that floor is what does that.
Yeah. And by the way, while we're on the salary cap conversation right now, NFL also increasing their salary cap quite significantly, I might say, too. Yeah. What's your read on this current thing? Because I got to say, the salary cap in the NFL is always so confusing to me, because as much as I always look at the salary cap in the NFL as kind of a fake cap as well, because every single time somebody wants to make a new signing or get something, they just restructure somebody else's contract and give them a signing bonus and give themselves some cap space. If they could just constantly do that all the time, why even have the cap?
Well, what they never show is they create salary cap, but they also create dead money. And they never talk about the dead money. Like when they cut guys and they say they saved $28 million, they saved $28 million, but there might be now $8 million that just is accounted on the cap and there's no body there. So really what happens is, like the Eagles right now, because I'm using this because I'm an Eagles fan and I'm most familiar with that team, right? So this year they have $60 million currently of dead money. So from this $300 million cap, they're really starting with their 53 bodies. They're really spending 240 because they have dead money when you do that. So that's the part. You're basically kicking the can down the road. What the NFL has done, though, to make the salary cap go up is something that's interesting and other sports could kind of steal. What happened is they never banked on the Christmas games, for example. When they did the CBA, they accounted for Monday Night Football, the TV deals and all that stuff, and it's a percentage. So basically 51% or 40 It depends. 48 to 52 go to the players, and then obviously the rest will go to the owners.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and that's total revenue, so they accounted for that. So then, not this past season, the first time they did it with Kansas City and those teams on, and they did the Beyonce concert, that was untapped money. So what happened was Netflix comes in and goes, I know you probably don't want Wednesday football. No fans ask for Wednesday football. But you know what? We're going to pay you a bunch of money to do it. So the NFL says, sure, we'll do it. That money now goes into the revenue. Then they come back this year and they go, hey, they don't account for it. They just keep the deal standard because they have to, negotiate it if they were to put it in. Should the players get more for Christmas? Should they get no? The NFL just does it. That money now goes in the hopper at an increase because YouTube wanted it and Prime Video wanted it. So now Netflix had to pay more, and that's why the salary cap went up, because they kind of artificially increased the revenue. I think that's something that baseball could do. Why does the Phillies and the Twins are playing at the Field of Dreams game this year? Why does that game? Why not? You won't get the same amount as an NFL team, but why not have YouTube bid on that game and create more revenue? The Winter Classic games in hockey, why not have another bidder bid on those specific games? And the NFL's doing something to increase their revenue that the other sports just haven't done yet.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And listen, it is an idea. They should be doing this. And Major League Baseball does have themselves in 2-3 years, another big negotiation coming up where they really want to handle all of their TV business. So be on the lookout for that, or don't, because baseball is going to end next year. Anyways, let's move on over to talking about some actually more fun things in the NFL, because listen, we are about to have ourselves a little bit of a QB carousel in the NFL. We got a lot of interesting names out there, and if you believe reports, it's happening. We're going the full far for Aaron Rodgers, because O'Connell actually kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit. Not that they don't believe in JJ McCarthy, but the timeline has changed, which means to me, somebody let O'Connell know you need to win this year, or else we're going to find somebody else that can.
Yeah, well, remember, they fired the GM. So now the new GM comes in, you're not my guy. And I know that shouldn't matter, but we know in real life the relationships matter. So now the new GM has no reason to be loyal to the head coach outside of he wins. So therefore, he also has no allegiance to any of the players outside of they help us win. That's the only thing right now. It's not I like you. It's not that we bet in this together. It's not that I believe in your vision. It's now solely W's and L's in Minnesota, because the GM who was making all those decisions is out of here and the new guy's in. And J.J. McCarthy's been hurt a lot. And when he's been healthy, he hasn't been really good. So if I'm McConnell, am I going to sit here and go, I believed in this kid when I drafted him 2 years ago, but he basically missed bring back Culpepper. That's a pretty good one. That's pretty good. What do you do other than maybe bringing a guy who is a proven winner for job preservation? And now the loyalty to your young rookie or young quarterback has to go completely out of the window. It's a tough situation.
It is. But listen, there are some names out there that are very, very intriguing. I'm going to start with this name for you because I'm just interested in what you have on him. Injuries throughout his career. Talked about him a little bit yesterday, but Kyler Murray we've seen the flashes of what he can really do. We've also seen everything else of what he can't do, how injury prone he's become at this point. And also on top of that, I still can't get over the fact that in his contract, it specifies that he had to watch video. I still think about that same with Sam Darnold. I know it's not fair that when I look at Sam Darnold, who just won a Super Bowl and won 14 games a year for the last 2 years, I still look at Sam Darnold and think I see ghosts. I know that's my fault, not necessarily his, but I can't help it. When I think of Kyler Murray, the first thing I come in is, doesn't watch game film, had to put it in his contract. I don't know, man. This is a wild thing, considering the fact that you've seen the kind of talent he has. Is there a landing spot that can actually be out there for a Kyler Murray right now?
I think there is. At Minnesota, you can't rule it out, even though he hasn't won a lot. But the issue with him is, and I know you've been around this, being that you play pro ball, does the person hold back the player? Like there's this weird thing where the player has all this talent, has all that, but the person has certain limitations for whatever reason. Family background, it could be. He has too many people around him. Kawhi Leonard, for example, has the crazy uncle, and that's why he's the only player that seems to not like the Spurs. Just giving an example right there. That was the person holding back the player. And it seems like Kyler Murray's talent, that dude is probably one of the most supremely talented athletes we ever see. He was a top 10 pick in baseball and the first pick in the draft in football. So we know the player is immensely talented. But we have questions about the person. Does the person in Kyler Murray catch up to the talent? When you're desperate to win, those are the chances you take. Arizona has a brand new head coach. They fired the old head coach. This coach is going to have a little bit of time. He's not desperate. He doesn't need Kyler Murray because he's going to try to find his next quarterback and win because he has a little bit of time. In the case of Minnesota, where you don't have time, those are the risks you start to take. Could I get the most out of a person? Because if he's a good enough person, I believe he's a good enough player. And that's the tough thing. The talent you can't find. At times, you've seen it, people do mature. Sometimes they don't as well. And that's the part that's so tough for me because I really believe in the player, but I have a lot of questions about the person.
Moving on to another guy that's apparently going to be on the move, granted permission by his team to seek a trade. Anthony Richardson. I know also injuries, but we know what kind of athlete that guy is. It was suggested yesterday by Keith Irizarry, hear what you think. He thinks he would be a perfect guy in a backup role, not unlike a
Mac Jones.
Saints. No, thinking more of the Saints, running back hybrid. Taysom Hill.
Yes, but the problem is he hasn't done any of those things in the NFL or really even in college. Like I think what's still happening with him is he only had 13 starts in college. And then he hasn't played enough football. You know the spot I would love for him to go to? San Francisco. I would love for him to go be a backup in San Francisco. And
learning that system.
Be in that system. He knows he's not going to play. Just get in that film room and also just be around more football. Because he would have started down the stretch last year, but they had that day where they had the two accidents. One Colts player tears his ACL in warmups. He's warming up his arm with one of those bands. The band comes out of the wall and breaks his orbital bone. And that's why that's why they had to get Phillip Rivers. That's what happened. He was warming up before the game. You know that you play baseball, so you see guys.
I know these very well.
Right. He's doing that. It comes out of the wall. This is the same day as a player tore his ACL on the coast. It was just a house of horrors day. In warmups, he's just running around, tears his ACL. He's in there warming up before he goes out on the field to throw, comes out of the wall, pops him in the eye, broke his orbital socket. And that probably cost him, it probably cost him millions of dollars. And maybe his opportunities, he has to move now because that happened.
It's brutal.
It's a move now because that happened.
That's like what was his name? Who was the quarterback? It was like Tyrod Taylor when he got the starting job with the Chargers, and then right before the opening day gets his lung punctured by a medic when he was just getting a shot. Like that is just ungodly bad luck. That's so ridiculous that shit could happen.
Right, because he had already lost his job, but once Daniel Jones gets hurt, he would have came in and played and might have had an opportunity to show something. Instead, a freak accident breaks his orbital bone, and now it's just time for him. I think he needs to just have a football reset. Minnesota, to me, couldn't. If Minnesota banks on him and just his talent, I don't think you can afford to do that. I just don't think you can.
Well, you just mentioned Phillip Rivers. How about another guy coming out of retirement? Do you think Derek Carr is going to play in the NFL this year? Even though the Saints still own his rights, I could see a couple of teams kicking the tires, and I got one in mind. I know for a fact the Jets wanted Derek Carr and not Aaron Rodgers when they were first doing that. So maybe they finally get their man 3 years late.
My thing about that is maybe. My question is, though, it's a situation. I feel like you were mentioning your girlfriend earlier. I always work off of a maybe's better than a no, and obviously a yes is better than a maybe. You know for a fact you can't win at the highest level with them. And I know people can say, well, it's the Jets, and I understand the pairing. But wouldn't you want a quarterback who maybe you can win with versus one you know you can't win with. I say the same thing about like Kirk Cousins. Yes, he'd be better than what the Jets had, but that's why the Jets are the Jets, in my opinion, because that's a no guy. I'd rather have a maybe guy. Like if I'm the Jets, I'd rather have Richardson as a maybe than a guy who I know is a no. And that's the part I have with certain situations. So I believe he will, but I think sometimes that's part of the problem. You just want somebody there who's competent. And I get that if you're close and that's your backup and your top guy goes down, then competent is great because competent can be really good on a certain time. But if you know you can't win the big one with the guy, why not go for a maybe? Because the maybe, to me, is just better than the no.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example of that. Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, when he was on the Jets, was old man Flacco, washed as can be, couldn't move. Oh, yeah, this guy should have retired 5 years ago. He's played like 4 years since the Jets and played really well.
Played really well. And at least Flacco got it done. Flacco has proven that in a perfect world, he can win. Kirk Cousins has made a lot of money, and Carr made a lot of money. And when it came down to winning in the postseason, they just never do it. And I understand like the positives of them, but for me, I would always go a different route. Once I know someone can't, I'd rather have the maybe. And maybe the maybe becomes a no. And at the moment I find out they're a no, they're going to. But I really don't like when teams commit to no when their maybe's just sitting there. So if a girl's told you no, go to the next girl who's told you maybe and say, hey, you said maybe before. Maybe she changes her mind. But the one that said no, leave her alone. And that's kind of where I am with those kind of quarterbacks. Personally, I'd rather find a young guy. I'd rather take a flyer on a guy, somebody else's backup who maybe can do it. I don't like the no guys.
Tyrone, it's funny you say that phrase, going out to a bar, like, hey, the worst thing she could say is no. Really? What if the worst thing she could say, what if I ask her something and the thing she says back to me is, the Raiders are getting ready to trade Max Crosby? Because I think that's worse than a no. I'm a Raider fan. I don't want Max Crosby going anywhere. But I also realize the realistic nature of the current situation that the Raiders are in with their 3 wins last year. But I want to frame it to you in a different way. I personally don't think the Raiders should move on from Max Crosby. And here's my thought process of why. One, what can you legitimately get for him? You could probably get a couple of draft picks, maybe 1 first rounder. Maybe you can get 2 first rounders and a player. I don't think you're going to get that high. I think you could probably get maybe a first rounder and second rounder. That'd be awesome. The Raiders have 10 draft picks this season. 10. We're going to add 2 more to the mix. We're going to have the youngest team in the history of Earth that just won 3 games last year, and we don't have a quarterback right now that we're about to draft the first overall that I still always worried about a question mark of a first. Listen, I lived through Jamarcus Russell. I've seen the Raiders do a first pick overall before. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm worried. I know they keep telling me that they got adults in the room, but the adults were supposedly in the room last year and they gave me 3 wins.
This one's tough. Now, Russell's another person where the person, and he'll tell you this, held back the player. The player had all the tools. The person wasn't ready for it. Everyone says completely different things about Fernando Mendoza as the person. In this particular case, the person's the sure thing, and the question would be the player. I prefer that scenario of the two. But about Crosby specifically, here's the tough part. You're not going to get the Micah Parsons deal most likely because Micah Parsons was turning 26 and Crosby's 29. So you're not going to get that same kind of crazy haul. At the same time, let's say it happens quickly. Let's say you go from 3 to 7 to 11. Let's say it's going to happen quick. And then you're ready to win the next year. You're 13 and you can really win. Like, let's say it's quick. Like, 3, I think every Raiders fan right now, if I said, I'm going to sign you up right now for 7 wins this year from 3, 11 the next year, and then 12 or more the following year, I think you'd sign for that in a heartbeat. In that scenario, is Crosby still a part of what's going on when you're that good? And that's the fine line to walk. Is he there? He's 29 now. So I'm making it quick. I'm saying Fernando Mendoza can really play. The new coach, who's a first-time head coach, he can really coach. Everything falls into place, and it's happening quickly. And now he's 32. is a 32-year-old Crosby worth more to you than a rookie who would be on year 3 of his contract? Because it might not be a 2026. How you know you don't get a 2027 first and
You're
a
not wrong.
2028 second? So you might have
You're
a
not
player that's in year 2 of a 5-year deal in the first rounder, and year 1 of a 4-year contract in that second rounder, right when you're kind of good. That's the line all the time with the NFL with guys around 30. Like, I think Crosby's great for your culture because the Raiders don't have much of a culture. But at the same time, you have to add in the part, unfortunately, not to be long-winded, that they lied they lied about him having an injury.
Yeah.
And then he's doing basketball. So, like, can you come back from something like that too? That's why I think in a perfect world, every team wants a Crosby. But can the Raiders have a Crosby after what they did to Crosby?
I don't know. There was some bad blood last year with making him sit out that last couple of games. Listen, I understood the business decision of making Max Crosby sit down, but I also saw the character decision of how pissed off Max Crosby was that you made him sit down. Dude, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, in my opinion, but I just want to keep the cat happy because I want him to stay in Vegas. I love Max Crosby, man. He is one of, if not the scariest man on defense, he's top 3 scariest men on defense.
Right. I'm an Eagles fan. Would I love to have Max Crosby? Absolutely. I don't think it's realistic they could get him, but if you told me you could get Max Crosby, but also my team's ready to win. My team won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They won a division last year. That's the tough part. Like, how quickly can the Raiders be good, and is he still viable when they are?
Well, we'll see. You still got the Broncos. Chargers are probably going to get better. And
the Chiefs aren't going to get worse. They just missed the playoffs. They're not going to be worse. So then if that's the case, then unfortunately I think it makes sense to move them in that scenario.
Hey, let's go to Shane's Quick Hitters. No Shane in today, so I'll cover him once again. Here, we'll keep it simple and sweet. Tyrone, what's a movie you can watch literally anytime? If it's on TV, you can just sit down and watch it. If you throw in the old DVD or VHS of it and just watch it and make yourself feel good. What is that movie?
All right, there's a lot of them, but I'm not going to cop out. I'm going to give one. It is the movie Casino. It is Casino.
Really?
It's not Godfather, even though I could say Goodfellas. There's a lot of movies I could say. I could say the first Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. I have a ton of movies I could say. I could say The Wizard of Oz. But my number one, Casino, would be the one. I like the story. Sharon Stone should have won an Oscar that year. She was tremendous.
She should have.
Like, this is the craziest part about that movie real fast. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I'm not saying it's better than any of those movies, those mob movies, but it's right up there. You're watching the movie and there's some domestic violence in it, like there isn't a lot of mob movies and things like that. Mm-hmm. You know it's wrong, but she does such a good job playing the villain at times, you almost think she deserves it while still knowing that it's wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's a really hard thing to do as an actress, to where you're like, she deserves to get hit for a woman, like, whoa, while at the same time going, okay, that was wrong. Yeah, and that fine line is hard to do, and she pulled it off perfectly.
Not only that, I think that was actually also done really well by Joe Pesci in that movie. You know why? Because I think Joe Pesci in that movie is the most despicable human being who's ever walked the face of the earth. He is a monster in that movie. But at the end of the movie, when his brother is getting with the bats, dude, it's like heartbreaking. Like, you hate this guy, but even you don't want him to go through this. Like, it's just one of the most brutal scenes in movie history, dude.
And his scene with Sharon Stone, where he's like, you want me to get your money after all you did to the guy, even though he's part of doing it to the guy because of what they did, he's right. Like, he's a despicable person, but it's like, yeah, he's not going to give you money. Look what you did to this guy. It's just, to me, that's the one. Yeah.
I'm going back and forth between my picks because, again, one of them is definitely in my top 5 favorite movies. The other's in probably my top 10. But they're just so rewatchable. It's either The Dark Knight or The First Matrix. I can watch those movies literally anytime and never have a problem.
Now, for me, the Matrix completely agree. The tough thing for me with the Dark Knight is only because he's no longer with us. So
That makes sense.
So for me, sometimes I feel like, man, you could have did so much more with him, and that part is a little tough for me.
All right. Next question. What is a sports stadium that did not live up to expectations?
I'm going to say it, and Philadelphia people will be really mad at me. The Veteran Stadium, the legendary Veteran Stadium. Everybody loved
the one that had the working judge underneath so they could throw drunk people into jail mid-game?
Yes. Now here's the funny part though. The Vet, it was it was that and the Houston Astrodome, the all-purpose stadiums for both sports. It actually wasn't bad for baseball. You had pretty good sight lines. Football, the 50-yard line was furthest from the field because, the baseball diamond, that's where it would bow out. So 50-yard line was actually not a good seat. There was a ton of obstructed view seats. All my good growing up, none of those were at the Vet. They were at the Spectrum. For people that have heard of that building, had a lot of great times there, whether it was sports or the circus or whatever it might be. The Vet for me was always overrated. When people cried when that building, I laughed when that building went away. I had pieces of that turf. I got rid of it. And this is a real thing. You can Google it. A bunch of former Phillies people, because they're on the field the most, have all passed away from the same brain cancer, whether it was Darren Dalton or former third base coach Mike Vucevic for the team, from the same, and they think they got it from when that turf would get really hot, the fumes that would come out of it. That's an active theory going. For me, that building, and it's beloved in the city of Philadelphia, it never lived up to the hype for me.
I get it. Mine's a little more obvious. New Yankee Stadium. It sucks. It just sucks.
It sucks.
It's such a fake pageantry play. You know what it is? It's like a PF Chang's. It's like, yeah, sure, it's fine, but all of this is fake. Like, this is just all fake awning. I don't like. Cool, okay, I guess it looks nice-ish, but it looks like that. It looks like a cheesecake factory to me. I hate it.
Okay, I can say that, but if we do current one for that, I don't love Citi Field. And it's not because I don't like the Mets.
I like Citi Field. I don't love it. I like it.
Yeah, I think. Here's the thing. I think Citizens Bank Park, these buildings were all roughly around the same time. Citizens Bank Park, them, and New Yankee Stadium are all within 10 years of one another, all these buildings. I like Citizens Bank Park the most of those three.
It's an amazing ballpark. Amazing ballpark. Mine is still Dodger Stadium. I'm not saying that just because I'm from LA. It's just
Gold standard.
When you're in Dodger Stadium, you're in the most beautiful sporting place like ever. Granted, when you're leaving it, you're in hell. When you're getting into it, you're in hell. But when you're in it, it almost felt like the traffic was worth it. Follow-up question. Last question on Shane's Quick Hitters. What is the stadium that exceeded your expectations?
That exceeded expectations. Wow. You know which one it was? And it had to do with the concessions. I had no expectations for the Marlins Park down in Miami. None.
Really?
No expectations. The food there is tremendous at a really good price. And in baseball in particular, that matters to me. It matters to me less in football, matters less to me in basketball and hockey. But in baseball, the food to me is part of the experience. But actually, you know what? Scratch that. Petco in San Diego.
So great. So good.
Oh, my God.
So good.
That one. See, I had some expectations. I stayed in the Gaslamp District. I was excited to walk to it. It's right there in the middle. It exceeded. Then the point where I went and picked my piece of salmon. They cooked the piece of salmon. I walked around, got a drink, came back, and they handed it to me. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm picking fresh produce and food there. The sight lines were amazing, and the fans were incredible because it was a Phillies-Padres game. I'm out there as a Phillies fan. I didn't wear my Phillies stuff, but, I didn't cheer when good things happened for the Padres. Those fans were also dynamic and tremendous people. I loved them. That building, to me, exceeded every expectation. Loved it.
Incredible place. I cannot say there are not enough words in the English language for me to describe how much I love Petco Park. Mine, that exceeded my expectations because even when I got to it and seeing the outside going, oh, this is this legendary place. Oh, whatever. Then I got in it. The Tokyo Dome in Tokyo Dome is one of the most incredible places I've ever been. And part of it was not just when you're in there, you feel like you're in like a bygone era. It's like an old school dome, but like when you're in there, there's a feel to this place that you just do not feel anywhere in the United States. And then when the fans get there, not unlike those San Diego fans, those fans in Tokyo, they know everything. I was telling people, like, you go up to the plate, Seiya Suzuki comes to the plate. Everyone in the stadium is singing and dancing to a choreographed song that they wrote for Seiya Suzuki. Not the team, the fans did, and they're singing it in unison, and they're doing it from guys from 1 through 9. It was the wildest experience of my life. If you get a chance to go to Tokyo, you have to see anything at the Tokyo Dome.
Man, you know what's funny is as an old school wrestling fan, I've been hearing about the Tokyo Dome for that as well. They talk about how the stuff that happened in the Tokyo Dome was crazy. Like for the late Hulk Hogan was, for people don't realize it, why would we? He was just as big for a time in Japan as he was here in the early 80s. And they said when he got in the Tokyo Dome, the place went crazy and they had special stuff for Hulk Hogan. So I think you're right when you say everything from everything I've heard. Everything's better at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of friends in the wrestling industry, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Like those guys were in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They would tell me, like, so how was it wrestling in like something like Wrestle Kingdom? He's like, dude, he's like, it's not Mania, but it's the closest thing to Mania that exists. And I mean, it's close. And I'm like, dude, that loud? He's like, you can't even hear yourself think. It's that loud.
And I remember when they did the Bullet Club stuff I saw online at the Tokyo Dome. That stuff was apparently crazy. You know, it's on my list if I get to Tokyo.
Well, that is Shane's quick hitters, and let's just move it on real quick because, hey, the president's putting together a group of people to fix college sports. I would like very much for you to hear some of these names because if there's one thing I know, all of these people that can fix college sports – normally, I would think it would be a prerequisite to maybe, I don't know, work in college sports in any semblance of the phrase. But why have that when you have Tiger Woods, Nick Saban, Tim Tebow, Adam Silver, Ron DeSantis, Fox Sports president Eric Shanks, and ESPN president Jimmy Pitaro? This is the dumbest fucking grouping of people to ever fix anything that you could assemble, let alone college sports.
And the other problem I have with it, big problem I have with it is you're not going to get a real consensus and a solution when you just have people that like you there. Like what you need is actual people with expertise, and those people with expertise may not like you, but that's okay if you're actually looking to have a damn solution. And the actual solution, and remember, these are mostly conservatives. They're not going to offer a free market solution.
No.
They're not going to offer a free market solution when that's what this actually could be. This is an opportunity to create rules like free market. There's a reason, like, for example, monopolies aren't allowed. And they have the antitrust exemptions. Like, we recognize that within capitalism, there can still be rules. So what college sports need right now are rules, actual rules that would hold up in court. Because the reason we got to this point was as the college system was set up to make zero. Then it was set up for a while there to make thousands. Then they started to make billions. And they took the scholarship that the players got in let's say the 50s, and you got, for example, there you go. You might as well have Gavin Newsom or Abe Lincoln on the list if you're gonna have DeSantis.
Let's get the Grimace. Why not?
Right.
Let's just throw out other things that make no sense.
Right. But what happened was this got to court because he said, okay, so in the 50s when you guys made thousands, what did the players get? Oh, a scholarship. Great, free college. Now that you make billions, not thousands, billions, well, what happens now? Well, we get more money. What do the players get? Oh, the same scholarship. And then a judge would be like, a judge literally was like, okay, now explain this to me like I'm 5. The money has gone way, way, way up. But what the players get, college is more expensive, but it's not from thousands to billions, even though tuition has tripled. it still hasn't gone up as much as the revenues in college sports, especially football. And the free market rules is the actual solution. This shows that there's nobody there that's an actual economist. There's no one there who actually would be able to put in real rules. Therefore, it's not going to solve it. The transfer portal's not going away, but you could have rules. But the only way to have those rules be in there is you'd actually have to talk to the players and have the players agree to it. Once it's bargained, you can now enforce the rule. But when you just make rules, the players did not agree to, they're just going to take you to court and they're going to win. So because you didn't collectively bargain it. You need rules, and this is not going to provide that.
And how many people are there at this meeting representing the players, and how many players are there? You guessed it, fucking none. Zero. So yes.
Like, have and how I understand if you don't want individual players, have agents to the players. Have people there who are representing the players' interest and come to some sort of an agreement. Because if you don't like that players can change teams every year, I'm not saying I disagree with you. What I'm saying is if you had a rule that was agreed to, then you can enforce it. But when you don't have any agreement, you're going to lose in court because the coaches can move every year. And to the courts, the players and the coaches are the same. And they will continue to be the same until there's rules stating otherwise.
I love that Nick Saban is there, the guy that's just been bitching and complaining about these players. I can't believe we're paying these players. This son of a bitch has been cheating for 20 to 40 years, and the fact that the system caught up to his cheating, he needs just to roll it back to the good old day. Fuck you, Nick Saban.
And how you going to explain this committee? You had Lane Kiffin at a fucking playoff team. Ole Miss was in the fucking playoff. And he says, nope, fuck all these players. I'm going to LSU in the middle of the fucking playoff. And you can say, oh, he was willing to coach. Right, but he was now a literal LSU employee. He had signed a contract while he's with the playoff team. Explain to a judge why a player shouldn't be able to move in the offseason when the coach can leave in the middle of the fucking playoff. Like, you need rules, and that might have to also apply to the coaches. I'm not talking about upward mobility, but maybe he can't take that LSU job until the conclusion of their season.
Well, listen, I don't know if you've noticed this. The NCAA is not very good at rules, but apparently the White House is going to come up with some rules now. By the way, any rules that they put in, I guarantee you there will be no rules put in place to safeguard a coach from doing this. I guarantee it.
Right. Like, okay, I'm not against Tulane's coach getting the Oklahoma State job. The Tulane coach getting the Florida job and the North Texas coach getting the Oklahoma State job. I'm not against that. But if the coaches can move whenever they want, I am telling you, when it goes to court, the players are also going to be allowed to move because there's no rules. There's no rules.
It's exhausting. Anyways, good news for Padre fans, because there is an ownership group that is coming forward and looking like it's going to be a potential front runner, and former San Diego castoff might be leading the charge. Drew Brees coming back to town to buy your Padres, San Diego. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of like it. He's part of a large group that's with the owner of Viore, that very high-end athleisure company. But I also want to point this out. You see Drew Brees joining this group. We're going into a CBA. I'm only just using this to remind you all. Owning a Major League Baseball franchise is not a money-losing operation. There's a reason that this group is trying to buy the team. There's a reason that they're going to make a lot of money in doing it. And yes, I have no doubt they're going to try their very best to get this done before any CBA with a salary cap actually comes to place, because that's just more money for them.
Yeah, for sure. Here's the funny part about this. And I don't dislike this part, right? I do wonder, though, if we're going to act like everything you said is true. What bothers me about this situation is, how can you sell these teams at these enormous profits and at the same time in a CBA negotiation, cry poor. Like if you're I understand that the money blows so many fans' minds that they side with the owners. I understand it, but I'm just asking any of you, if wherever you work, whether it's UPS or a local company, whatever you do, the working man that has his own business, right? If you're able to sell your plumbing business for 3, 4, or 5 times more than you bought it for, because that's what the Padres are going to do you think you'd have a hard time talking to your employees why they can't get $1 an hour more? And that's basically it, just in different numbers, but it's the same argument Major League Baseball is basically saying. And that's the part that bothers me about this. Like, you mean to tell me that I start a small business, and I'm not saying I should be able to make money. You absolutely should. I'm a capitalist. But I took $100,000 of my money that I saved, or I got it inheritance, however I got it. And now I can take this business and sell it for $600,000 after buying it for $100,000. That keeps the numbers simple, right? So clearly I did good business and I made a profit. I'm to believe that my employees don't deserve a small raise or just let the market, meaning Jimmy's Plumbing might pay more than Tyrone's Plumbing. So to keep the guy at Tyrone's Plumbing, I might have to match the offer from Jimmy's Plumbing. And I'm supposed to act like that's unfair when I have a really profitable business? I just don't buy it.
By the way, they're saying that this deal could get done as soon as opening day. So make no mistake, this is happening fast. And also in this group is Drew Brees, of course. I mentioned Viore founder Joe Kudla, but Warriors owner Joe Lacob is also a part of this group. And the asking price as of right now is $3 billion.
Yeah, so if the Warriors are involved, if you've ever been to San Diego, I mentioned that Gaslamp district, you have everything right there. There's no way they don't own some of that real estate around there, because he is now, for people that don't know, the #1 landlord in San Francisco is the Warriors owner. When he bought this place, he bought the land around it and built a bunch of properties. He's the #1 landlord in the city of San Francisco. That means that you're not just buying the team. I guarantee there's a real estate play involved in this. So many times when you have your stadium, you have all that, you're not just what you own with the team. It's also the 81 guaranteed dates for your people that want to live in the apartments close by, or the bars and the shops that you lease out to people. That's also the play there. So miss me if you're not making a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh God, they're making so much money. By the way, got a question for you before we wrap up things. I have to know your thoughts on this. The ABS system. What are you thinking so far? Because I'll freely admit, I'm not digging it, and I'll tell you why. It's not that I'm not enjoying watching umpires get embarrassed. It's you're basically saying to me, you can get them all right. Then get them all right. What are we waiting for? Like I feel like we're just going to make games longer, and we're just going to embarrass umpires, which is only going to cause, in my opinion, just more problems. Just get them all right.
Just get them all right. And this is my issue. For me, it was never about the strike zone accuracy. It was about strike zone consistency. That's always been my issue. And now they're going to get rid of the thing on TV. My thing is this. If my Phillies are paying the Dodgers and Kershaw's getting 2 inches off the plate, I'm fine with it as long as Zach Wheeler also gets those same 2 inches off the plate. What this does is it may increase offense. It may bring everything more into the strike zone, and maybe that's good for the fans. But if it's about getting it right, then I think holding the humans more accountable for, like, after the game, they'll judge it and say, this guy got 2 calls wrong the whole game. I know that's a lie. The umpires would lie about it. And I think this is the counter to the line. You can't tell me that you only got 2 calls wrong the whole game when you have this system. And I think that's ultimately the problem. It was always to be about the consistency of the strike zone, not the accuracy. I understand that there's going to be big and small strike zones. As long as it's the same for both teams, it never bothered me. The inconsistency is what's always bothered me. And these guys would never admit it. And I think they've now backed themselves in a corner to where perhaps Major League Baseball knows they need to humble these guys before eventually getting the system that you want.
I know, but like do we have to do it? Let's just get I'm watching. Listen, I do find it funny that I'm watching umpires get like 5 in a row and they're constantly get called. But I'm like, is every at bat going to be 10 minutes of this shit? Like, I don't want to do this.
No, and baseball had just had a great year, which is another thing stinks about this inevitable lockout. The pace of play has been a godsend. I know a lot of parents, I'm not a parent myself, that have said it's so nice. My kids actually didn't go crazy. I didn't have to leave early. And I'm talking about, 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids who already have nothing attention span because of the tablets and everything in 2026 that we have now, able to sit through games because of the pace. If this disrupts the pace of play, then what the hell did you do everything to speed that game up for?
Yeah. Listen, the pace of play has been fantastic. You're right about every aspect of it. This just throws a ripcord into the game. Now, granted, I get it. It's 15, 20 seconds, but that's 15 to 20 seconds where we're doing nothing. Just get rid of it.
And what's going to happen is it's going to be commercials. They're going to be throwing a 15-second commercial. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
This pitch replay is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, what is it? Bet on it now. Gambling, money. FanDuel.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Guys, let's go ahead and reflect. How about that? Reflections. All right. I'm going to keep my reflection really simple. Sir Charles decided to go on TV and kind of blame one guy specifically for why the NBA isn't good anymore. And I love it because it's an old argument. We've had it for plenty of years, but I got to say, as much as I love me some Charles Barkley, and I do, I disagree. Steph Curry did not ruin the NBA. Now, do I agree that I don't love perimeter shooting 24/7? Absolutely. But because Steph Curry can do it is not what ruined the NBA. I just can't stress it enough. And also, when it's going good, perimeter shooting is quite lovely to watch.
And the other part is that Charles doesn't admit is the 20-point lead is no longer safe because of math. The simple thing is, if I'm up 20 and you make 2 layups and now it's 16, that's one thing. I make 2 threes and now you take the math down. The math is different. It's just the math. It actually keeps teams in more games, and you get the end of the games closer because of it, because of math. But separate from that, Charles, what he's really mad about is, deep down, is that the kids all shoot threes now. And you know who I blame? Not Curry. I blame the parents and the youth coaches for not telling those kids that you're not Curry. That's not Curry's fault, because when I was coming up, we all acted like Jordan. We all acted like this guy. Or that. I wish I was left-handed so I could swing like Griffey. Like, kids are going to emulate. It's the coach's job. My coach said, first of all, I know you want to play center field because Griffey came up when I was like 9. And I couldn't throw. So you know what he did? He put me at second base because I couldn't throw. I didn't have an arm for center field. A coach told me that. And so is that Griffey's fault? Or is that, like, you know what I mean? Like, we emulate people. It's just part of the deal.
Yeah, but again, it's also in the NBA too. Like, we get plenty of Brick City games in the NBA.
We get those games, but the 3, like, I can't be mad at math. The math's not the problem. 3 is worth more than 2. Like, why do baseball players, we get a lot of complaints, and you know it, you've heard it, that all the baseball players swing as hard as they can. Yes, because if I put it in the seats, that's worth points. If I hit a single, it may not mean shit. Like, I'm sorry. Why don't we bunt? Because why am I giving away an out when I might hit a fucking home run? Like,
bunting is stupid. It's stupid, stupid, stupid. Anyone that tells you that bunting isn't stupid, they're stupid. Also,
old.
Fun fact.
Or old.
The
old school guys love the bunt.
Oh, yeah, that's what I sat on the 10 for, to try to get into Chavez Ravine, to watch dudes bunt. Hit the ball into the parking lot, please. Also, on top of that, I'll give you one more. Pat Murphy, manager of the year the last 2 years in Major League Baseball. I had a game once in AAA. He was my manager, and I was playing in Tacoma, which is playing against Tacoma, I should say. And I'll never forget it. Their manager was their third base coach. I was playing third this game. I was having a great game. I was 3 for 3, 3 singles to the right side. And the reason why was because they were playing me a right-handed shift. They were leaving the white side open, and they were throwing me outside fastballs. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll just take care. Done. Daddy will get his hits today. And I'm feeling so good and smug about it. I'm not playing third, and the manager comes over to me, and he's like, how you doing, Dak? I'm like, oh, I'm doing great. Hey, you gonna plug up that hole or what? And he just looked at me and goes like, no, you just keep doing that. And I look at him like, what? He's like, no, you're doing great. You keep hitting singles to right. And I just sat there and I'm like, son of a bitch. I put my head down and realized what I just did. Go into the game after the game. I sit down and Pat Murphy calls me to the office and he's reading a newspaper. He's like, hey, Dak, I just looking at your stats here. How many stolen bases do you have in your career? And I'm like,
many. You didn't have many.
The actual heartbreaking thing was the answers I had exactly 0. I was like 0. He's like, okay, so I got a question for you, Dak. What fucking good are you for me at first base? Hit a homer, you idiot. I'm like, yeah, I realized that about the 7th inning, coach. I'm sorry about that, Murph. He's like, I will sit your ass for a month if I ever see you try to get seeing eye singles to the right side again.
That's a great story. That is a great story. Kids, parents that are watching us with your kids when they do basketball also, and they go, oh, why were you shooting? I was wide open. You might want to ask the kid why he was wide open. Sometimes it's you're open and you should take the shot. But you better make sure it's case by case because sometimes they left you open there because they know you can't make it. Or if you do, they don't give a damn because there's something they fear much more, and that's what they're actually trying to stop. And in your case, they were worried about you stroking. I saw your stats. They were worried about you pounding the ball. They were very happy if you would take that single because you weren't driving in any damn runs like that.
Yep, and I learned not to be an idiot for the rest of my career. And Daddy just tried to hit bombs. What are you reflecting on, my guy?
I want to give credit to this young kid named Kevin Sullivan. He's only 16 years old. He's an MLS soccer player. He already knows when he turns 18, he's going over to the Premier League to play for Manchester City, the team that's currently second in the table in the Premier League. So he already knows. But he's currently in the MLS, and he already worked out the money deal. When he's going to stay here while he's a minor. His parents are still around, and he's going to go over stateside. He scored his first goal as a 16-year-old just yesterday. I want to give credit to that kid because I know the pressure. We've talked about youth sports. I talk about how if you're really special, it's almost like they'll find you. You don't have to force the kids. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to make all these highlight tapes. If you're the future LeBron James, the world has a way of finding that next kid. I love when a kid has that kind of hype and that kind of pressure, and he already knows he has millions of dollars coming to him and he's already early in the season because we're in February delivering on that. Credit to that kid, credit to his parents, and credit to a system that allows a kid to develop at his own pace, knowing that there'll be riches ahead. So I just want to give that a lot of credit. You putting your kid on 77 travel teams and he's barely a starter, trust me, if he was generational, you wouldn't have to question it.
Absolutely. Dude, for the amount of work I've done in youth sports, man, it's never the players are rarely the problem. It's always the parents. So I think that's some good advice. And yes, please listen to what Tyrone is saying, parents. If you really value your kid's future in playing sports, please. Tyrone, as always, this was a blast again. I absolutely love doing this with you, man. You're always on point. You're always you're fucking hilarious. So who doesn't love having you on? Chat was absolutely loving you as always. Guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe right here on the YouTube channel. And we'll be back live here on Monday, Michelle Beadle Monday at noon Pacific. Tyrone, I hope we get you again next week sometime, dude.
Yeah, on Tuesday, I believe.
Let's go.
Tuesday.
Tyrone back on Tuesday, babe. We got a Tyrone Tuesday ahead of us, man. You're the best. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy some sports. And most importantly, guys, R.I.P. Estelle Getty.